This is such an important book. Americant, The Corporate Plantation. King Bell joins us now. He's the author. Hey, King, thanks so much for coming on.
Good morning, Kate. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell me the road to writing this book. What made you decide I'm going to write this book?
I watched George Floyd get murdered, and I was crying. And I just made my mind up that I wanted to do more than wear a T-shirt. I wanted to do more than walk up and down the street with a sign. I wanted to provide some type of substantial contribution. And this book is that contribution.
Yeah, and when you talk about the book being the contribution, it's interesting what you put in the book. The title is brilliant. I think there's a lot that people don't understand. What did you set out to do in this book, and what do you talk about?
I try to incorporate as many different nuances of being Black as I possibly could in one book. And you're an author, so you understand what I'm about to say. I read a lot of books, and most of them only tackle one subject, and that's the theme throughout the entire book. Well, my book is a completely different approach. I really try to acquire the reader's empathy to various situations. Just waking up Black in this country, and regardless of what anyone who's not Black may think or feel about our progress, the goal is empathy, Kate. Let a Black man write something, you read it, and empathy. That's the goal here.
Yeah, and you specifically say to people who read it who are non-Black readers, you wrote this out of this irritation of being what you just said, a Black man in America, but you say, and you're really clear about this, it's not a Black book.
It's not. I did not want to write a Black book. There's too many of those. I didn't want to write an angry book. There's too many of those. I actually made it entertaining and still get my point across. And the feedback that I've gotten from so many people has just been amazing. People have called laughing. People have called crying. But I think the greatest compliment is when someone calls and says, "This character is me. I live that, or I'm living that right now." So I think you do not have to be Black to gain a connection to one of these characters, and that's a point that I think is very pertinent that I want to make.
Yeah, tell us about a little bit about the story and some of the characters in the book.
So the book is based on 6 Black men who live in Charlotte, North Carolina. All of them work in corporate America except one. Silent Saint is a pastor, and what you get to do is see different aspects of their life in the corporate arena, as far as work relations. You get to see Silent Saint in the church dealing with political issues. Just because it's church doesn't mean that it's perfect. It's still a people-founded institution, so there are people issues that he has to deal with. But you get to see them navigate the corporate arena. You get to see them navigate love. You get to see them navigate friendship with one another. And so I think it's a human book. I don't think it's a Black book.
Yeah. For you, will you do a follow-up to this? I mean, it was so powerful, and you could certainly go in other directions. Will you do another one?
So I decided to make it a 3-part series. This is book 1. So I'm writing book 2 now, and I promise you, Kate, my editor is calling me like once a month. Where's the book? Where's the book? Where's the book? I'm probably 90% done with book 2, but yes, there was a very big demand for more. The people have fallen in love with the characters, and so they want to learn more about them. They want to know more about their backgrounds. So what I decided was book 2 was going to be a prequel, Americant, the fraternity is Black. And what I mean by that is they all meet at Florida A&M University, historically Black college that I graduated from, my alma mater. And so you get the the background story on the main character, knowledge, his childhood. You get to see how they all met in college. And then book 3, Americant, we're off the plantation. You get to see them, all 6 men in a different arena outside of corporate America.
Well, that's high praise when you're a good storyteller and people want to know more about the characters, because then you have definitely developed them and there's interest and there's no question about it. So for the first book, Americant, the Corporate Plantation, people listening to us, they get the book. What do you hope they take away from reading this first one? That black people are still slaves. We can debate progress all you want, but we're still at the bottom of the totem pole. And I can give you a 1,000 different examples, but let's talk about the opioid crisis and how it's being dealt with. The government has sued every major pharmaceutical company in this country, and they put together this $1 billion fund to treat the quote-unquote victims of the opioid crisis. Well, who are those victims, Kate? Those victims are predominantly white, young white men and women. Mm-hmm. Well, it was also the government who was complicit in flooding black neighborhoods in the 1980s with cheap cocaine. That cheap cocaine became crack. And so when we got hooked on crack, what were we called? We were called super thugs. We were called super criminals. And all of a sudden, the same government used that as an opportunity to create, because it didn't exist before, but to create a multi-billion-dollar prison institution to house as many of us as they possibly could. So we get hooked on drugs, we're super thugs. White people get hooked on drugs, they're victims. So who do we sue, Kate? Yeah. Wow, such a good point. And as you said, one example, one example.
I got a lot of them.
Yeah, and there are a lot of them, absolutely. So when it's good though. You have such a good sense of humor, and it's like what you say in the book. There are so many angry books out there. You're not trying to be angry. Let's open some eyes. I mean, is that the idea? Like, let's have the conversation. Let's be real about it.
Let's have the conversation, but let's laugh also.
Yeah,
because I really believe comedy is a medication as well. And there's portions of the book that I think you're going to fall off the couch laughing your behind off. But there are also extremely serious portions of the book where I want you to get angry in hopes of a conversation that leads to resolution.
Perfect place to end this, leading to resolution. King Bell, always a pleasure to talk to you. You can get this book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Americant, The Corporate Plantation. Thank you very much, and good luck with those other books. That editor is going to be calling you.
Thank you so much, Kate. You have a great day.
Thanks, you too.